Welcome to the Smart Nonsense Podcast, where we talk about entrepreneurship, self-development, challenging norms, and today, cryptocurrencies. This conversation is so awesome because very rarely do you get the opportunity to see this world from someone that knows what they're talking about, because 99% of the world has no fucking clue. And I don't normally swear in the intro, but I just did. That's how important this is. We talk about currency, why that's fundamentally changing with the structure of blockchain, with the cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, like Ethereum, like all these different coins that are being released, some good, some terrible. We'll talk about that. And really the future outlook. What's it going to look like in the next year, 5 years, 10 years? We get into it all. So listen closely. Realize Henry and I are just talking nonsense. Don't trust anything that we say. But our guest does know what he's talking about. His name is Ian Lapham. And you can find him on Twitter at Ian Lapham, Lapham. He's also working right now for a startup company that specializes in trading cryptocurrencies. It's called Uniswap. You can find them, uniswap.org. So much going on in this world. I think you would be silly not to listen to the end and really understand how this is going to change everything. I'll let the podcast speak for itself. So without further ado, this is episode 42 with Ian Lapham.
Really quick, how do you two know one another?
Oh, true. Yeah, Belky. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Bad introductions. I forget
So
you guys
not
don't
only
know
do
each other.
I not know, I wanted to wait till we were live, but I don't know who either of you are. I don't know what the heck cryptocurrencies are.
Belky's just in a warehouse somewhere in Chicago. All right, so we're on the same club hockey team. Ian was our goalie, star goalie, because Pruz was butt.
Pruz was trash.
At Brown?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's how little I let Belky know.
Holy moly.
Henry's.
Were you in our
So
class?
you're just in the dark. No, I'm older than you guys. I was 2018.
All right,
Yeah.
so
He's
you're
got a year
older.
up.
You're at Brown. What were you studying?
I studied econ and then I studied CS. I did both.
Okay.
But yeah, we played hockey together. I haven't seen you in like, I don't even know, 2 years or
I
something.
thought you
But,
both went to high school
everything's
together and
always
played
2 years,
hockey.
yeah.
Nope. College hockey.
Yeah, the elite of the elite.
We were
But-
good.
but-
Dylan is a sneaky good hockey player.
You
Bender,
wouldn't
I
expect it, but I got the quick legs. That's about it.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
I mean, the goaltending wasn't that hard in practice, so just Gino after Gino. But
Yeah.
Ian, you switched to CS later on, right? Were you planning on doing that from the start?
No, never. When I got to Brown, I was like, in my head, I was like, I want to start a business. I'm not even going to graduate, which was stupid because Brown is amazing, and I was like, I'm never going to leave. But I was getting an econ degree because I kind of wanted. At one point, I wanted to do like finance or something like that. But then I got into coding, and I was like, all right, let me just get a computer science degree. So I did that in the second 2 years. I didn't plan on switching like that.
What do you mean you got a CS degree in the second 2 years?
Yeah, so this was crazy. I did an economics degree,
Okay.
and basically finished it. Just like a BA. But then when I was going into junior year, that's when I wanted to get the CS degree, and a lot of the econ classes can count towards a computer science degree. So like things like stats and math and like econometrics, if you know what that is. So I kind of stacked. Yeah, I stacked all these weird things and somehow got a scientific CS degree in like 2 years. It was nuts.
What on earth? Okay, so you have a BS in BCS, whatever the heck it is, in CS.
Yeah.
And a BA in econ.
I didn't formally get the BA in econ.
Okay,
I had
but
to,
you have it. I was the same way. I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't formally get a couple of things, but like I had the course load for them. It's a
Exactly.
formality.
We were all pissed because Ian started taking his life seriously and then stopped coming to practice, and we had no goalie for like 2 years.
Yeah.
But
Every Thursday it was like, you coming? I'm like, no chance. Problem set.
And then your goalie, a friend in the physics department, got pulled up to varsity.
Oh, true. Yeah, Ian, you know that story?
We should have Noah on here to talk about that because he was just getting like he was injured every other week from the varsity.
Yeah, I remember when that guy got called up. I don't really remember why or what the context was there.
Yeah,
Because they were out of options.
This kid, yeah, we were out of options because you couldn't participate, and then like literally just I don't know what happened to Pruz too. Who knows?
Yeah.
Pruz is kind of vacant, but we contacted this kid from our freshman unit, super smart physics kid, played street hockey in like middle school.
Yeah, I
And
hope
like,
he's
yo,
listening.
dude, can you come up and do a couple practices? And the varsity team, they lose their goalies, and the varsity team's like, yo, dude, what do you got for a goalie down there? I think they asked Ma, who was our captain. They're like, Ma, you got a goalie for us? And we shot Noah right up to varsity from
And
street
then
hockey.
what? He broke his
That was-
collarbone.
That was my job. I could have gone to varsity then. Well, good for
Yeah.
that kid. Good for him.
All right. So you two have spit out a lot of last names. That tells me we're talking about inside jokes and stuff. Ian, so you graduate,
Mhm.
and then what? Did you go down the finance route like you had planned?
No.
Okay.
So when I was a junior, I started getting exposed to this cryptocurrency world, which we'll get into with
Would
what
have
that
been
means.
what 2017.
2017. Yeah. So in the timeline of crypto in general, that was similar to like a 1999.com bubble kind of crazy time in history. And that's when I got involved with this stuff. So I was in college. When I was graduating college, I knew that was what I wanted to do. So a childhood friend of mine, who was like my best friend, his name is Nick. He was working at John Hancock, the big life insurance company, and he was running their blockchain team. And he's like, "Do you want to come work with me?" So I said, "Hell yeah!" It's my best friend. I get to work with him. In the interview, he was interviewing me, but we were pretending to be serious, even though like I'm like, if you don't give me the job, I'm gonna smack you. So
Was it a multi-person interview?
yeah.
Was he fake interviewing you in front of a room of people?
Yeah, this other guy was in there asking me questions, and then
he feeds you the questions beforehand, like presentations.
The day before, we met up in a Starbucks and went through the list of questions. I was, I had perfect answers for all of them. But
They're like, this kid knows his shit.
yeah, exactly.
Not only does he know his blockchain, he appears to be a time traveler.
Yeah, exactly.
That's nuts.
Yeah. So long story short, yeah, I ended up there, and we were doing crypto work within this massive company. This is a publicly traded, $1 billion company. The corporate lifestyle was not for me or him, so we all quit and moved on.
They lost a whole branch.
Yeah,
of childhood friends.
No, it was crazy because we wanted to do, I'll get into all of this, but we wanted to do things on a public blockchain. We'll get into that, but basically they wanted to do a more kind of like controlled experimental version of what we wanted. We wanted to do it the real way, like the real deal. They said no, and we were like, if you don't let us do this, we're gonna quit. And they were like, no, you won't. And then we all quit. So they don't do blockchain anymore.
Wow, it's crazy.
Yeah, they're done.
I'm rereading, sorry to cut you off,
No problem.
Michael Lewis book right now called The New Thing about Jim Clark in Silicon Valley. And
Yeah.
that was like so much of what he did. He was just like, oh, you're not going to let me do this? Well, I'm going to go somewhere else and do it.
Exactly.
And now
Yeah.
John Hancock doesn't have blockchain.
Exactly. It's a powerful thing. You can wake up one day and you're like, wait, I'm not going to do this anymore. And then you don't do it anymore. And it just works. So that's what we did. We moved on to other things. And I've been in the crypto world ever since. Right now, I'm doing a couple of things. I work at a startup called Uniswap, like OneSwap, Uniswap. I'll get into what we do and everything. And I'm also running a dev shop. So what that is, it's a group of people who we get contracted to build software for other companies. So I'm running that as well.
Yeah. We've been battling with like, all right, where do we take this? Because we're such just simpletons in terms of understanding blockchain and and just cryptocurrency in general. And then plus you have kind of the entrepreneurship weird career route that we want to explore too at some point.
Yeah.
I feel like now we should focus on blockchain, what that feels like, what like we're so on the outside, like on the inside. You said it was 1999 a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Did it pop or what? I don't even know. Like on the inside, what is it like right now?
Pop.
Yeah.
I was right before we hopped on because Ethereum was all my friends were talking about in, again, 2018. I went on and just typed in Ethereum price, and it looks like the .com bubble, right? It hit $1,300 for a coin or whatever. You're going to have to explain that to me in 2018. And now, yes, it's trending up, but it's a fifth of that. So
exactly. Yeah, it is. It's a story. We'll start from the beginning, and let's start with the basics.
Yes.
And then we'll go, okay, what for context here, we're going to start with what this all is. And then by the end of it, we're going to be talking about Yam Coin, Spaghetti Coin, and Cream.finance. And you're going to want to learn about all that. But first, I guess, like the first thing we have to talk about is there's cryptocurrencies and then there's blockchain. So do you guys, blockchain's like has a weird association with it, but do you guys know what blockchains are, or do you want me to explain like what that actually means?
Please.
Let me give my understanding, and then you can correct me as I go wrong. Because I've tried to, last 24 hours, I've just been cramming for an exam on this, basically.
It's like, studying for a test. Yeah.
Exactly. So blockchain solving this problem of we normally need people, these third parties, to verify any sort of transaction, any sort of, transaction that goes on between two people or two entities. And then this dude, Nakamoto, what is his name?
Satoshi Nakamoto.
Yeah, some dude or group, or no one knows what this thing is. They make blockchain, which is basically replacing the humans and the third party with a computer, and algorithms can figure out like if this transaction happens, you don't need people to verify. And it does it through a bunch of computers all verifying that it happened. That's the secret sauce, I think. But there's a lot of gaps there, so start filling in.
I mean, in general, that's it, right? A blockchain is really just a new type of database. So right now, every company, everything we do uses databases, right? This Zoom call is being stored in one right now. Everything you use is connected to some database that is controlled by some company. And what that looks like in real life, that sounds kind of abstract, but what that literally is, Facebook has databases, for example. What that literally is a big warehouse of computers somewhere in like Nevada or Ohio or Florida or London. It's massive rooms of computers all around the world that these companies operate. Amazon
mostly Amazon, right? Amazon Web Services.
Exactly. So then you get to like the next level up where a company will rent those computers to other companies. But the whole point is they're big rooms of computers, and they hold data.
Are those servers?
Exactly.
It's just a bunch of servers in a database. Is that because I've always heard? I think Naval Ravikant said like databases is just so fundamental to understanding all of computer science, and I still don't understand what that is.
Yeah.
Is it a warehouse of servers? Is that what it is? Or?
It's kind of both. Servers are basically like the things that accept requests and then spit you back data. So the data is just on this big computer and in lots of rows of info, just piles of info. A server you can ping it with the request, say like, I want this, and the server will go into the database, get what it needs, and give it back to you. But
the server's in between a computer and a database.
Exactly.
That's the protocol is when they're like how you communicate and get that info.
The protocol is the set of instructions for how to communicate. So it's like we all need to. This is getting like very.
No, I'm just looking at Dylan and I like server database.
yeah, exactly.
I feel like no one understands this. Except for maybe like 1% of people out there.
Yeah, so, it's crazy because we use it, all the time, and no one knows. And you don't really need to know. The whole point is that right now companies have these things, and that's what we do. We send them requests, and they have our data. A blockchain is a new type of database where instead of companies owning and controlling the data, everyone owns it, and people share it across the world. So all it is it's like a big Google Doc that anyone can anonymously edit. And there's like specific rules for what you're allowed to do. If you try to break the rules, people are going to yell at you and you're not going to be able to do it.
Is it physical people? Because I know if like you break the rules on Reddit, there are like some bots that take care of that, the moderators.
Yeah.
Are there literally physical people saying like you can't write that?
No, and that's the beauty. Like you said, Dylan, it's all just an algorithm. It's a set of encoded rules in code saying this is the set of instructions that we will accept. If you don't follow this code, then it won't be accepted. And it's just a big network of computers around the world. So in my room right now, I could be running a node, or you could be running one. But basically, instead of all of us going to the Amazon database, we go directly to each other. So the whole point, like you said, is we're taking out third parties and we're letting people communicate directly with each other. That's the thing you actually need to care about.
If I wanted info from you, Ian, then instead of me having to go to say Amazon, ask Amazon for your info or whatever, we can just talk directly to each other.
Exactly. So what you would do is you broadcast a message on the internet to the blockchain. Some miner, we're getting into the technical weeds here, but someone running one of these nodes who's like running the blockchain in their house will pick it up and they'll see, did you follow the rules? If you did, your message gets added to the blockchain. And then on my end, I say, oh, Dylan just got this message added. Let's see what he said. Okay, he did this. I'm going to respond in whatever way. And we just repeat the process.
Are people using it like that? Because all I ever hear about is ICOs, right?
Exactly.
Like the money aspect. Are people like really transacting like that?
Yeah. So that's the interesting part. So we've just, talked about how it works, but that's kind of the same thing as talking about like, what is HTTP? When you go to a website and you see that, or like, what does .com mean? HTTP is it's a hypertext. It's hypertext protocol, yeah, and that's just it's a rules set for how computers talk to each other. And because we need a standard, right? Because if you're trying to send something to another computer and it just doesn't look the way it's supposed to, that other computer's not going to know what to do with it.
You're speaking gibberish and it's waiting for English.
Exactly. It's just a way so as humans, it's just easy for us. If we all agree on like a way to do things, it's easier for us to build around that. So all that stuff with the transactions and the nodes and everything, that's like the low level. But the beauty of all this is on top of that, we've built these things called cryptocurrencies, and that's what Bitcoin is. And that's where things start getting fun. And they're basically an alternative to money. And that's why these things are interesting. It's a global way to represent money that isn't controlled by a government. It's not controlled by a company. It's controlled by just people. And that's where you can start to get pretty wild with all this stuff.
Yeah, because normally you need, I guess you need like a PayPal or something. Like, for example, right now we have a team in the Philippines and sending money, we'd go through PayPal. But in theory, I could just have a little code, I guess through Ethereum would be the best way, or just send Bitcoin, whatever. Yeah. And it's just like every week send this amount to this person. And then all these computers verify that it happened. It's locked in the blockchain throughout all of history. Exactly. Everyone will be able to see that.
Yeah, forever. And it's so one thing I like to think about is kind of what is money, right? Like we talk about money all the time. We talk about the US dollar. But not a lot of people ever think about what that actually is. So money is three, like if you look in a textbook, it's three things. It's a unit of account. It's a means of exchange, and it's a store of value. You can immediately forget all that. But when we moved up the gold standard, we moved into something called fiat currency, which is just the dollar that we have today. You have in your wallet or your bank account. And what fiat currency is, it's literally just currency where the worth is based on perceived value of supply and demand. So that's a complicated way of saying we all just kind of believe this has value, so it does. And that's why the US dollar is so strong globally, because in today's world, your money is as valuable as the perceived value of your economy, right? So that's why if you go to any country in the world, you can spend a US dollar, because everyone knows the US is, producing a lot. Therefore, we believe that the dollar is good. But if you go to Venezuela, you use their currency as toilet paper, because it's absolutely useless, because the inflation is, 10,000%, and you're better off lighting fires with the dollar than actually spending it to buy anything, because it's worth nothing, because their economy has issues. And we can get into Venezuela specifically.
Let's do it. But is Bitcoin in that sense more like gold and silver?
Exactly. That's exactly right. So that's the analogy you want to think about. It's a store of value, just like money, that is based on perceived supply and demand. So, you go on any app, go on Cash App, go on whatever, Square, and you see a price of Bitcoin. That's literally just because there's a market of people around the world, and we value it, based on what we think it's good for. So in that case, it's like digital gold. And there's no piles of, if you go to the Fed in Boston, New York, there's literally piles of gold sitting there. It's going to seem ridiculous in like 100 years that we just sat on like piles of rocks, and we're like, this is worth a lot of money. Cause like, it doesn't really mean anything. It's like pretty dumb when you think about it.
It's so silly. These are my rocks.
Exactly.
Look how many I have.
Yeah. We keep them in piles, and my friends work at the Fed, and they say like people arrange them in like chairs and stuff. Like it's stupid. It's literally like, it's like making a throne of natties, but it's gold, and we say it's worth so much money.
Yeah.
But yeah, in that sense, it's it's like a digital gold, and that's why it's starting to get interesting, because now you have this thing that just lives on the internet, and then kids in their bedrooms can do crazy things with all this money, which I'll talk a little bit about. But it's totally new, and it's crazy.
Let's quickly go back to Venezuela then. Is the solution there more cryptocurrency?
Exactly. So Venezuela, you guys are good. See, people think this stuff is super complicated, but it's not. It's just money, but it's digital.
Well, the math behind it, probably super cryptography behind it is
database
difficult. And
server was hard.
Yeah, once you learn about it once, forget about it. It's just digital money. But you're on the right track here. So Venezuela is huge. So now we can kind of talk about the different types of cryptocurrencies. You've probably heard of Bitcoin, Ethereum, we were talking about, but there's thousands of others, and some of them are built to track the value of a dollar. So they're called stable coins, but all that is, like, when you think of Bitcoin, right, it's going up and down in price. You don't want to buy your groceries with something that could lose 40% value overnight, right? Or you don't want to get paid in that, because your paycheck, maybe it'll double, but maybe it'll go to zero. And that's scary, right?
Yeah.
So if we're going to use cryptocurrencies to do things like humans, we'd like some of them to be stable. A dollar, just kind of float around a dollar. Maybe one day it's 99, maybe one day it's 101, but it's about a dollar. So people have invented those things. And in Venezuela, people on their phones are using them to get paid and to buy things now. And there's huge initiatives in, countries outside of America to use these things, because it's way better for them.
But isn't that just a fiat currency then?
Yeah, it basically is, but it's digital. But fiat currency is good.
Isn't it like the supply and demand? Like, the problem there is they printed so much money that it inflated the value. It's worth nothing. But you usually have the rules of like there are 21 billion Bitcoins ever that are going to be made, or whatever the number is.
Exactly.
I assume the same with other currencies.
Yeah, so that's the key thing here. With these stable coins, it's a fixed supply, and we know that there will only be this certain amount. So that you don't have to worry about the government or the algorithm printing 1 billion of them overnight. Like, it never will. Like, they are what they are, and that's it.
Okay. But even Ian, aren't there, like, I feel like some scam type coins you have to be careful, because sometimes the code is written differently, and if you can't read it and understand it, maybe the supply is much more than you thought, or whatever it is.
Exactly. So that's the huge issue in this space. And that's kind of like, if you ever read about it in 2017, in this ICO bubble. It was the initial coin offering is what it was called. And these projects would pop up every single day. They'd make a website and they'd say, you know, we got fresh new coin here. It's called this, this, and this. You can buy it. And everyone would buy it. And then the team would literally delete the website, steal all your money, and you'd be broke. And that happened thousands of times. And we're seeing, it's also been happening this last month, but in a totally new way, which I'll talk to you about in a bit. But yeah, you have to be careful with these things. And that's why, in my opinion, we're not ready for, in quotes, normal people to use these things. Like, you have to be pretty advanced to not lose all your money in like a week. So don't go buying random spaghetti coin on whatever.
Right. I was thinking, like, I had family members in 2018, like we'd be at a barbecue or something, and they're like, I'm thinking about buying some Ethereum.
They
And
have
that's
no idea
like,
what
that's
they're
like
talking about.
investors saying, like, I'm thinking about investing in like this, like, I don't know, shoelaces.com and like 19, like,
Exactly.
just things were flying around.
Exactly. It's like anyone who invested in like pets.com or whatever, and they lost all their money, or like,
Just Enron.
yeah, exactly. And that's the crazy thing here. Cause now it's like, there's good and bad things about this. The good thing is that, you know, if you're a person in your room and you don't have like millions of dollars and you want to get into some, you know, cutting edge technology, it's hard for you. Yet you can download Robinhood. You're going to pay some fees. You're only going to get access to things when they're public. No one's going to take your investments because no one knows who you are. In this, anyone can buy a token anytime. You can just be on your phone in your bed before you go to sleep, and you can buy this new thing.
What's this? Just cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, any new cryptocurrency. There's new ones every week that do different things. But a lot of them are trash. So you have to be, you know, you have to be smart, and a lot of them will just lose you all your money.
What are they? My understanding is basically the blockchain is the technology, and I've heard the term fork, but they're like building on top of it, and that's why the new coin will come, why it'll exist. Like, why are there multiple coins? What is the value there?
So the coins all do different things. A lot of them are built on top of this blockchain called Ethereum, which, you know, we mentioned a few times. Ethereum is just kind of like Bitcoin, but the only thing Bitcoin can store in its database is your account balance. So Dylan has 5, Ian has 10, and that's the only thing Bitcoin can do. And if you send me a couple, it'll switch the numbers, right? That's all that Bitcoin's programmed to do. You know, I had this much, you have this much. That's it.
It's just a calculator.
So Dylan sent me, I think, some materials you sent him about. Oh, sorry, you said that's all Bitcoin can do.
That's all
Bitcoin
can do.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I read that Ethereum was set up to be a platform for people to actually like create contracts on top of. Okay, so Bitcoin is just numbers.
That's the basics.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this is where you can lead into the fun stuff. So Ethereum lets you write code. So I can be in my room and say, it's these things called smart contracts, but really they're just little chunks of code, and people can interact with them. And you can do whatever you want with the code, right? So I can make a file that lets us swap tokens. I can make code for a new token for Ian Coin. You can literally go buy Ian Coin right now if you want.
Like where, on what, Ethereum.com?
So that's what my company does, Uniswap. Now, you know, this is starting to come full circle here. But so Ethereum has all these chunks of code sitting around, right? With all these people in their rooms, and companies have written this code, and they do all these different things. But you still need to go on a website and do this, right? So these companies are popping up that are letting you actually interact with this stuff. So my company is kind of like NASDAQ for all these different tokens. So people around the world have coded up thousands of different tokens. They all have different names, and there's different rules for what they do. And if you want to swap one, you can go to uniswap.io. You log in with your account, whatever, and you have your account, and then you can go from any token to any other token. You can do this in a lot of other places too. Coinbase, you can do it. But you can swap these things, and it just works. You pay some fees, but now anyone in their room or on their phone or on their computer can instantly buy something that someone around the world, you know, created yesterday. And it's like a really crazy ecosystem right now. And people are doing ridiculous things with them.
Like what?
So specifically last week, this thing called YAM token came out. And this is like, we'll probably put things in context for like how much a lot of people in the space are absolute degenerates, you know, just kind of day trading, trying to, you know, make a lot of money. And this is kind of like a thing that happened last week. So basically last week, this team
last week being August 13th week, whatever that is.
And
last week.
Ian, when you say like those people are day trading for degenerates, that's what I thought this whole thing used to be. Are you saying like you're actually trying to use the technology like for what it's meant to be?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe I should explain
and not
that
just
first.
get rich quick.
Yeah. So back in the day, yes, that was like the only thing anyone used it for. It was, what token can I buy to make the most amount of money before it crashes? You know, that like 4 years ago, that's the only thing people used it for. Now you can actually use it to do a lot of cool things. So one, you know, you can get stable access to money if you don't live in America. In America, we don't need that. Frankly, we just don't need that. I can Venmo you money whenever I want, and that's great. If you're in a country where like your government has some serious problems, the actually good alternative for you. Like you can go on your phone and pay people in a money that's not gonna.
Doesn't that take
seized.
a collective like we are now accepting stablecoin as a country to like work?
So that's part of the issue here. You can use these things to pay people, but it's still difficult to kind of live off of it in certain places. People are like building, and that's where a lot of the investment is going on in this space right now. Like, how do we use crypto in real life? Like, how do I go to CVS and buy it? There's apps where and use it to buy things. There's apps where you can kind of do that now. So that's one thing. If you're in a country where your local currency is not very strong and it's hard to get US dollars, we use that. Like in most countries, actually, people just buy US dollars in the black market, and that's what they use in their day-to-day. Like in a lot of countries, that's how it works. But you're paying crazy fees to get US dollars, so it's bad for people.
I remember I was in Argentina because they've had a lot of currency problems, and everyone they love the US dollar. If you had dollars waving around, people were like trying to buy them off of you and like street corners and stuff. So it's huge around the world, but now this is moving towards the supplement.
You can, there are people that, you know, there's a massive market for selling US dollars, like in the black market. That's a huge business. It's global. And that it just shows you that like money is just a weird thing we all kind of made up. And like ours ended up being the good one. You know,
thanks to World War II, probably. And,
I mean, a lot of things changed after World War II. Like money used to be called Massachusetts money way back, but that's boring. That's boring stuff.
I want to know, and then I think we have to get back to YAM, or you were listing some numbers of good things, but how do you, because I'm on Uniswap right now.
Yeah.
What happens when I put that I want to take 5 of my Ethereum and turn them into 100 Bitcoin? What are you doing?
So what you're doing there is, I mean, literally you can't go from Ethereum to Bitcoin because they're on different blockchains, but you could go to like wrapped Bitcoin or whatever.
So you have to stay on the Ethereum blockchain.
Yeah.
So how,
but
it's kind of confusing. So are there, there's Bitcoin blockchain and then Ethereum blockchain. Do all these other coins are built off of Ethereum blockchain?
So the majority of them are built on Ethereum. Ethereum's kind of like the cool kid on the block these days. That's what like every company's building on. In my opinion, it'll be the one that we use like globally. But there's other blockchains. There's a lot of them.
And what's the reason for me going on Uniswap and wanting a different currency?
Yeah. So the reason you'd want to swap is, one, it's kind of like buying a stock. So to some degree, it's still kind of like you believe in this project and you want to make money off of them doing well. Okay. It's like buying a stock. So there's one company that's doing synthetic derivatives. But what that is it's literally just, Wall Street, there are these things called derivatives where you can get exposure to like the performance of certain things. It's a financial instrument. It's a way to, it's a way to make money. It's a way to diversify your portfolio. It's a thing you'd want if you are looking to invest. This company on Ethereum is doing like a blockchain version of that, right? If you think that company is doing a good thing and you kind of want to ride the wave with them, you'd buy some of their token. It's called SNX. And as their protocol or their thing gets used more, the value of the token goes up. You make money. So you basically invested in this company. That's kind of what you would do on Uniswap.
Okay.
It's kind of like buying stocks.
Can you also, so are you buying a stock, but in theory, people in their day-to-day are also using the stock certificate itself as the currency?
Yeah, it's kind of weird what these tokens are actually used for. But at a high level, you go on Uniswap and you're making investments. You want to, get upside to these companies. But you could also go do something like get a loan. And that's what some of these companies do. You get a digital loan. If you wanted to get a loan in real life, what would you do right now? Call up your bank and you'd probably be like, how do I do this? And they'd probably be like, yeah, you're too young. No. Or like your credit's not great. Or like, we'll give you a small loan. It's like a weird process, right? I could go on my computer right now and get a $50,000 loan in like 5 minutes. And I'd probably only pay like 4% interest or something. And that's
got Henry's attention.
How? Whoa.
That's what you can literally do with this stuff. Like that is like the actual stuff you can do.
Can that $50,000 also blow up tomorrow, as in become nothing?
So that's where the stable coins come in. The loan will be in the form of a stable coin that.
So where do you get a stablecoin loan?
So, okay, it's compound.finance. That's another example of this. If you want to like actually do some of these things, compound.finance.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's one thing you can do. You can take out a loan. But the other big thing, which is kind of related to the yams, is you can lend your money. So you lock up your money and other people are using it to do things, and you're earning interest because you're lending your money. So now you're kind of acting like a Goldman Sachs or a Santander, but from your bedroom. Like in the real world, you can't just lend out your money that as an individual human.
But you do when it's in your bank account, no?
Yeah, but your interest is like
you said.
varies. Your interest is almost
so what
zero.
would it be if you were lending out on blockchain?
So, this is the crazy part.
Is this yam?
Yes. Now we're gonna get into the yams. So this happened like a week ago.
I'm gonna lose all my money.
Yeah,
I'm gonna lose all
you
my
probably
money.
will. You gotta ask me before you buy into this stuff. For disclaimer, anybody doing this, you will.
This is a late disclaimer.
You could lose all your money. Be careful. So like a week ago, this group of people who didn't know how to code, that it's rumored that they're mostly investors. They made this thing called yam.finance, and it's what you think. It's supposed to be like the potato, and the brand, the logo was like the potato emoji. You could look them up on Twitter. I think it's Yam Finance. And they basically created this tool where you could lend out your money at really high rates. So in your bank account, you're probably getting like maybe 1% per year. Last week, it was about 25% per day. So
I think that's why I just went on their website and they had like 3 different warnings to like not use the site.
Exactly. So this is what happened. A bunch of people made, and this is kind of what we were talking about, how it's dangerous. These people didn't know how to code. If anyone's ever listens to this, I'm sorry that I'm offending you for the people who created it. But they weren't very good coders. This thing was working. So people from around the world, in about 2 days, there was over $200 million locked in these contracts. So like a lot of money from around the world poured into this
People in their bedrooms?
Yes. So that's the beauty of this. These people in a room somewhere in San Francisco built this thing in like a couple weeks. Within overnight, hundreds of millions of dollars is pouring into this thing. The rates are going insane. So everyone wants to get involved because everyone's making a ton of money. But the whole thing was a fugazi. It was like it didn't mean anything. And this is the bad part of crypto. So yes, people were earning money, but at some point, you know, things need to be reset, because for every winner, there's always a loser, right? It's not like we're just printing value out of nowhere. So the code had a bug in it, and they tweeted out like, like in about 4 hours, when this thing is supposed to happen, it's going to break. And we need to all vote to fix it. Because in blockchain, you don't just change the code. You vote with your tokens, and like things change. So I woke up in the middle of the night. This was like 3 a.m. like a week ago. And everyone was like, should we vote on the thing or should we not vote on the thing? Because to vote, you had to stop earning your 25% per day. So everyone's like, I don't want to lose my money. I'm going to let everyone else vote. But you've reached the tragedy of the commons, because then everyone's like, I'm not going to vote.
There's only one dude voting.
Yeah, exactly. Because everyone wants their money.
Do either of you listen to Reply All, the podcast?
No.
Okay. There's this episode about this like prolific New York artist named Zendulu, and she trains these rats. And basically she was behind Pizza Rat and like some other viral things. And maybe I'll send it to you, Dylan, to put in the show notes, but I think Zendulu might have made Yam. It's just a bunch of rats.
That's
like,
Belky. Add into the podcast.
Right. Ponzi expert.
Okay, so were you in on this, Ian?
Yeah, so I was farming it's called yield farming, and everyone puts the little farmer emoji in their Twitter. Crypto Twitter's a big world. So I was farming the yams. I wasn't in on it. I didn't make it. But I was farming the yams, and then I get the call, and I have to wake up in the middle of the night, and we're like, should we vote? And everyone around the world is kind of like tweeting, like, are we going to vote? Are we not? And eventually everyone was a good person around the world, and enough people decided, yes, we're going to vote. So they clicked yes, they voted. But when they voted, they found out there was another bug in the way the votes are counted, because these people can't code. So there was even though we voted to fix the first bug, there's a second problem. And now the money, it's not going to work. It's broken forever. So the price starts dumping, and people around the world are paying hundreds of dollars per transaction. Everyone's losing thousands and thousands of dollars.
Bank run?
Yeah, it's a bank run. It was literally a run on the bank for this potato coin. I like woke up in the middle of the night. I had to sell it all, and the thing absolutely dumped. People lost so much money, and the guy was tweeting like, I'm a failure, like I'm a terrible developer, like I've ruined lives, like people lost their fortunes, and it was crazy.
So,
and the whole point,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the whole point of this is that in this world, a group of people can code up this thing, millions of dollars from around the world can fill into it in a couple of days, and then it's a free-for-all around the world. It's like a big multiplayer game. Like, what are we going to do with it?
Right. Okay. So this is different. Okay. Apple, when they first introduced the iPod, right? It's about to roll out. Steve Jobs is pissed that the headphone jack doesn't click, and they have to recall them all.
Yeah.
But like Apple tells its shareholders, like, things will be okay. We'll fix this. Yes, it takes a dip, and it goes. Why couldn't the founder of Yam just be like, let's keep this money locked in here and like just fix this thing and do it somewhere else?
Yeah. So that's like one of the core things of the blockchain. Once the code's on the blockchain, you can't change it.
Oh.
So that's why these things are incredibly important to get right. And that's why it's dangerous. Because if something's broken, you can't change it. You know?
That sounds like a major downside.
Well, so here's the problem. Is
it's
it
good and
like,
bad? Yeah.
I said Enron before, but Enron, all these investors, no one actually looked at the books and like paid fine attention to all the details. So is that what happened here? No one looked at the actual code in the first place and just believed everyone else?
Yeah. And like I said, it's a lot of degenerates, and no one bothered to check on the code. And the problems were like very trivial, like problems in the way you do multiplication.
That's so sad.
Like,
oh,
you know,
wow, that's so sad.
It was brutal.
So even you though, do you just try? I mean, you're a farmer, which means you were solving the little puzzles or whatever you want to call them that they put up.
Yeah.
It's like Farmville
to create the blockchain. It's all kind of confusing, but like, what were your thoughts? Like, oh, you just trusted that it was going to be worth something, that it had merit?
Yeah. So just
because if I might add, it sounds like you got caught kind of day trading.
I did. I got out fast enough, so I was fine. But one thing I'll say here is like, this is a new thing that's been happening this month, these types of schemes, and it's kind of like 2017 all over again. there's a lot of crypto that's like actually good, and you know, people are getting loans using dollars. This is the degenerate side, but it's more fun. So the reason I was doing it is because it's kind of like a Ponzi scheme, right? Like if I can see the rules of the game and I know I can play for a little bit before getting burned, I'm going to play and try to outsmart everyone else. And if I'm correct, then I can make some money. If I'm wrong,
it's just degenerates versus degenerate. I mean, not call you that.
It is. I'm being a degenerate. It's great. So yesterday we got deep into Yams got hacked, you know, and we're on to the next, and Spaghetti Coin pops up. Spaghetti.money is the website for this one.
Wait, before we go to Spaghetti, I see on their site things are headed over to Yam version 2. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, so Yam V2 is like the new hot thing, and now people are buying the Yams again. So
we're back in it.
We're back. The Yams are back. And the whole point of this is, yes, these things are kind of absurd, but it is cool that like a kid in his bedroom can code something and get hundreds of millions of dollars interacting with it. Because
that's right.
These things suck, but you could also build something that's great. Like, you know, the code doesn't have to be bad.
How did they go from finishing the build of Yam last week and people start piling on millions of dollars?
It's literally memes on Twitter and Reddit and 4chan. And that's what's so interesting about this space. It's like, that's why their logo was a potato. Everything that was tweeted was about potatoes. There were actual memes made. 4chan took over, Reddit blew up. And all these things operate. They basically live on Reddit and Twitter. And people from around the world, like internet weirdos who know about this stuff, get involved. And it's just, that's why this is so interesting. It's a new precedent. Like people literally make memes on Twitter. They put this code on the blockchain, and then money from around the world floods. Wow. And it's like you can't put an app on the App Store and do that. It's just not possible.
Right.
You can't do that. And that's why this is kind of wild.
Where then are, like, I'm sure there are a handful that are just trusted. Like Ethereum, Bitcoin, those are trusted doing, well, good stuff, I guess. So Ethereum, is that, I get kind of confused because there's applications built on top, which I assume are the other coins. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, what are the most promising, like trustworthy, like this stuff is good versions?
Yeah. So that's probably something also good to think about. You can kind of think of them as Ethereum's just a big computer and people write their apps on top of the computer. Mm-hmm. So a few that are doing like real things, not, you know, food Ponzi schemes, are Compound. I mentioned, like, you can compound out finance. You know, they build these smart contracts. They write code on top of Ethereum, and you can go and you can get loans or lend your money. So it's just a new way to get loans or lend money. MakerDAO is the one that makes the stable coin. So and there's a couple that make stable coins. So that's just kind of like an internet version of the US dollar. That's like a useful thing. UMA is another one, and they do synthetic stocks. So a kid in Nigeria on his phone can buy a synthetic version of Tesla stock. Like if you're a kid in a third world country, how do you buy Tesla stock? Like, it's hard to get a bank account. It's hard to get Robinhood. It's hard to do all that. But if you just go on UMA's website, you can get a synthetic version of Tesla stock and get access to these things that in, you know, traditional finance, like only the very wealthy or privileged people can get access to. So that's one. Synthetics does a similar thing, but they do like synthetic versions of other currencies. So like, if I want exposure, if I want to long or short the Japanese currency, I can do that from my phone now, and anyone around the world can do that. So
it's basically replacing New York in the whole financial sector.
Yeah. Last week, a guy from Brown actually called me. He works at Goldman Sachs, and he was like, "How can we invest in your company? Like, we don't even know what else to do at this point. We just want to invest." And then my boss just laughed. He was like, nah.
I mean, they're so uneducated, it sounds like.
Yeah, they have no idea.
Well, a lot of things.
and that's a big theme here. It's called DeFi. If you want to Google this, it's decentralized finance. And that's what it is. You're spot on. It's replacing the financial infrastructure that we have in these big buildings in New York that cost billions of dollars to operate and to work. And now anyone around the world on their phones can just do this and can do the same thing.
Are they scared? Are the JP Morgans and Goldmans?
Yeah. Every single one of them is building a blockchain product. Every single one of them.
Except John Hancock.
Except John Hancock. They're screwed. Sell that stock. You know, that's the thing. Traditional finance will always be used for certain things. You know, I'm not one of these like hippies that's like, you know, we're all going to move all the money to the internet. Like, I just don't think that's going to happen. But for certain things, it will move to these, you know, internet native protocols, whatever, if that's what you want to call it.
The same way all these businesses moved to .coms in 2000.
Is the issue thing, though, like, are people coming up? Because I don't know how to write Ethereum code. Solidity, I think, is the name. Like, exactly. I don't know how to write that. Is that where these companies will come up and it's like you don't have to know how to write code? You can just,
yep.
Like, yeah. I don't know how that works. Like, how do we use it day to day? Like, you can go to a website and easily send money on PayPal. Is that what these coins do?
That's what these companies do. And that's kind of like what my company does. If you wanted to go and do a swap, I want to sell token A and get token B. You need code to do that for you. And you have a known person has no clue what, you know, how to do that, but you just go to our website and we do it for you. And there's other companies popping up that kind of make tokens for you. So a good example is my friend Brian Flynn. He runs a big crypto newsletter. And he made a token representing himself called Jam, because like that's his like internet ego. It's like Jam. And basically people buy his token. And if you have his token, you get access to his newsletter. You get into private message threads with him. You get like special privilege access to like his content and stuff. And a company basically wrote the code for him. All he had to do was click a couple buttons. And then he had his own token. So you can make Dylan coin if you wanted to. And like people could use it. It's super niche now and still complicated. So like normal people don't want to use this, but for the internet weirdos who are like down to experiment, you can do some interesting stuff with it. So long story short, companies are popping up to do these things for normal people.
Gotcha. Go ahead, Dylan.
Well, in terms of adoption, I've heard before, because you have this distributed ledger and everyone is kind of proving and accounting for all of this stuff, you can only do like 15 transactions a second, or I forget what it is, but limited amount of transactions. How do you
do your homework? Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I've been obsessed with this for 24 hours. So
nice. Yeah. No, that's about the number right now. On Ethereum, you do 15 transactions per second. If you look at Visa, they do about 10,000 per second, you know, way better. And that's one of the issues right now with this stuff. Like our little online cult of, you know, crypto people can use it because there's not that many of us. But when the real world starts doing these things, that's going to be a huge problem. So then you get into this world of blockchain scalability. And that's just like, it's being researched so heavily. There's a new version of Ethereum coming out this year, ETH 2.0, which will increase it to like 1,000. There's this thing called side chains. But basically a lot of money has been invested into solving that specific problem, billions of dollars, and people are building out solutions. There's other blockchains that already do 10,000 per second. A bunch of Google and Qualcomm guys made one called Solana, and that does 10,000 per second.
So why aren't we transacting on there, or are we and we don't know it?
We might. It's a big battle right now. So like that one specifically just got a big exchange to integrate with them. But basically, instead of swapping tokens on Uniswap, some people will go to this exchange and swap on a totally different blockchain. And it's way faster. So we might. Who knows?
Okay.
Yeah.
Spaghetti. I need to know.
The spaghetti. So the Yam thing created this template of like I don't want to call it a scheme because some of them are actually decent, but ever since that, these things have been popping up. There's the Yam V2. There's one called Taco Coin. There's Cream.finance. There's Spaghetti Coin. There's like 20 of them, and they're all food, and they all have like food emojis on Twitter. and the spaghetti coin was yesterday was this. People finally figured out how this works, and basically you lend your money out in a lot of these places, and you go through a bunch of hoops, and eventually you dump your money into this vault, and you start earning interest on it. So yesterday, it was like I was getting like 100% per hour, which means I was doubling my money every hour.
But
yeah, but that
wouldn't
didn't
you have
last
$1 trillion in like 4 hours?
Yeah, these things don't last long. So that was the rate for about 15 minutes.
But it was alive.
Yeah, and then the world on the internet figures this out live. This was happening last night at like 10, and everyone else started doing it. So the rate starts going down, and then the spaghetti. Everyone started realizing that, and the market sentiment was kind of like, you know what, we're over spaghetti. Everyone started selling pasta. The token's called pasta, and it was the same thing as the yam. So everyone around the world was racing to get their money out of this thing because the market value was plummeting. And like a friend of mine lost like $4,000 in like an hour, and it's just like, it's nuts.
Is it all made up? Like,
yeah,
the 100% return every hour. Why?
So that's, it's real for a bit when no one knows about these things, because basically they're printing stock for you, and the market is making the price of the stock go up. So just by having your money sitting there, you're earning a bunch of stock. The stock's going up. So when you do the math, you're earning those types of numbers. But as soon as people don't like the stock, it flips, and it can get negative real fast. So these things are like, this is not what crypto's about. There's way better
the speculation versus the actual investment.
Yeah, this is kind of like the day Portnoy, like degen trading side of everything. But it's fun, and I've been doing it the last month mainly because it's kind of fun, and it's just a big stream of memes.
Are people just making absurd amounts of money then?
Yeah, some people are making like, they're literally doubling their money every week, which is ridiculous. It's unheard of.
By finding the next meme.
Literally, they're living on 4chan and in Telegram group chats, and they're on Twitter. And, as soon as 4chan takes one over, it blows up, and people, throw all their money into it. And then the rest of the world figures it out. And then it's a race to get out. And it's just been happening.
I feel like that's what gets cryptocurrency the bad rap. Yeah. So in terms of actual, so people don't get all fed up and angry at this stuff, because I do think the blockchain is so fundamental, and that's never going away in terms of distributed, I don't know, whatever that approval process is.
Yeah.
What then? We kind of talked about how many transactions you can do. It's difficult because you have to remember your private key. Yeah. To if you lose your key, which is basically like key to your bank account and ability to transact, I assume.
Yeah.
Then you're fucked. You lose everything, I assume. So People have all these, hard wallets or whatever, basically they're just carrying around.
Yep. Yeah. That's another big issue with the adoption here. Yeah. So in general, these food coin schemes, they're fun, but some of the things I said earlier, the actual goal here is to just get people access to financial opportunities that they never could before, and around the world. And that'll be pretty big, but there's issues like what you just mentioned. So it's if you forget your password at Google, you just tell Google and you prove that you're you, and they'll let you reset it, right? Somewhere or another, they call you or they text you or whatever. You remember a secret question. There's no company on the blockchain that'll just, help you out. That's the whole point. There's no Google here.
There's no customer service.
Yeah, exactly. There's no customers. There's not. If you
just go to 4chan.
Yeah.
Awesome shit. Fuck.
It's people do, or they tweet help.
Help.
Yeah, literally.
Fire.
That's gonna be me trying to get a loan next week. Help.
I get people in my DMs every day saying Uniswap stole my life savings, give it back, and I'm like, it's not how it works, man. But yeah, if you have to write down these key phrases, and the people I know literally write these things down. It's like a 12-word thing, like dog, bush, ping pong, whatever. Like a seed phrase is what it's called, and they will put them in safes. They'll get a safety deposit box at a bank. Funny enough, or they'll put it in their house somewhere. Yeah, and it's weird. People, I don't know. People
Is
people
that
don't
out
like
of
that.
fear that someone's going to break into your house and see bush dog cat tree and know what to
Well,
do
that's
with that?
you can have your whole bank account in crypto and lose it like that. Like
Yeah.
I was listening to Naval and Nick Szabo on Tim Ferriss show, and they were saying how like people were bulldozing these trash dumps because they threw it out by accident or something like that.
Yeah, like
Could lose
millions,
a fortune.
Yeah, millions of dollars. This guy a couple months ago was doing a podcast like this, and on his desk he had his key
Oh,
in the
no.
video. Lost like $2 million on the spot.
Because
Like,
I can go log in just with that key
it's like
that's
you
all
have
you
the
need.
password to his bank account. It's
that he can't change.
Can't live stream the pod.
Yeah.
You gotta record it and
yeah, you can never change that, and as soon as someone has it, they're in. So yeah, don't be a moron. like be safe.
So
when
is
you-
that? I mean, the cool part is if you remember this key and people memorize it, and you can cross borders and not have issues with banks and authorities. That's sick.
It's-
But
yeah.
what's the solution then to people losing their shit?
Yeah, so there are like companies popping up that kind of make it more like Google, where they'll take custody of your key, but in a way that's safe, where they can't actually read it themselves. I mean, this is a little, you're getting into the fringe of what you believe is safe or not. And they'll let you log in with a password, just like Google, like Gmail. And if you forget your thing, they'll actually let you reset it. But it's in a way that's not just like, they aren't able to see your key. It's encrypted and it's private. Because if the company had your key, then in theory they could steal all your money. So there's companies popping up that have solutions for this. There are more crazy ones where you can, like, there are some wallets where you designate like a close friend of yours as like your guardian, and if you forget something, they can help out. It's a weird social experiment for those.
It's so new.
It's brand new. Like no one knows yet. That's the
So,
thing.
okay, to wrap up here, it sounds like what's basically going to happen is there's going to be these meme things. There's thousands and thousands of these. We're kind of in the cryptocurrency bubble. Maybe we just got over it. But it sounds like in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, like 5 of them, 10 of them, 100 of them are going to be around, and they're going to be stable. And like,
Yeah.
we're going to start to exist as a society on these blockchain platforms.
Exactly.
Did I learn
think that's a
something?
good take.
How? God damn it! I like Ian. Do you have to go? Because I like this shit so much. I wanna. Maybe we have a part 2 at some point. I don't know what your schedule is.
I'm good if you want to dive into other things.
Belky, I know you always have stuff to do, but
Yeah.
because I'm curious. One, why it isn't at that level? Like, why does it take 10 years? What do we still have to do? We've talked about a couple of them. Are we missing elements that are key?
Yeah. I think to kind of, summarize all of this, I think you just did a good job. In a couple years' time, these things are going to be easier to use. And we're going to have a global financial network that just doesn't exist right now. Right now, finance it's cross-border, but it's very dependent on certain governments and certain certain currencies. It's a big clunky system. So in the future, we're going to be a more connected society from a financial standpoint, and people in certain parts of the world will get access to financial opportunities that they never could get before. And that's hopefully a good thing for the world. There are gaps, and it's mainly just because it's still complicated to use and it's still confusing. We've just spent an hour trying to figure it out, and it's still weird, but like we're getting there. And the internet used to be the same way. And that's like the thing I'll say about this. If you wanted to get on the internet in the 80s, you needed a 30-step manual for connecting to the internet. It was 30 steps. It was nuts. It was crazy. I'll like send you the link for this guy. Had a great tweet about what it was like to connect to the internet in the 80s. It was an hour-long process. Now you just don't ever think about that, right?
Right.
You're never not connected to the internet.
Exactly. You're always connected, and it's not even a problem. Back then, that would be very expensive to be always connected. So the whole point is people are smart. We're going to figure out how to make these things easy. And if there is some value to normal people, a company will pop up to, provide that. It's going to be slow. It's literally just hard to do. and it's new technology. So, over the next couple of years, probably 5 to 10 solutions will be made, and these things will start getting used. And then that's when it gets crazy, because now people in their bedrooms all around the world can program a global supply of money, and who knows what will happen, because that's crazy.
Okay, so I go home tonight and I want to do something. We keep talking about the bedroom.
Yeah,
like
the bedroom.
I still don't understand. Like,
Yeah.
Am I just like dinking around MATLAB? Like, am I on a, like what?
This is, yeah. If you
what
want to
would I be doing?
Yeah. Here, it's kind of two things. If
What do you like? Are you doing stuff in your bedroom? Like, what's going on?
See, I'm a developer. I code, so I build these things. Not everyone codes, and like,
right.
So you could make your own yam. You're saying your own yam coin?
Yeah, I could make a coin for your podcast in like 5 minutes.
Because you said Ian coin, but you actually have Ian coin.
Yeah, I have millions of Ian coin.
We need a smart nonsense coin. You have millions, and so you can do that in 5 minutes, and then you can get me a loan in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'll do both.
That's absurd.
So, yeah, I mean, so that's what developers do. They build these things. If you're not a developer and you just want to get into this world, the first step is just getting some crypto. Get your debit card out. Go on Coin. I mean, this sounds like I'm giving people financial advice. If you want to, yeah. If you wanted to, go on Coinbase and Google these things. Look up the name of it, like Ethereum. You guys are already more advanced than 99% of the world after this conversation, but
which is crazy.
Yeah, like no one knows this.
Yeah, just the fact that somebody's friend says, "Yo, go on Coinbase and buy Ethereum," and then they just do it is like so crazy to me.
Exactly. And that's what you can do. So like go on Coinbase, look at the names, Google them, read what they're about, go on Reddit, go on Twitter, get some Ethereum, and then you can start diving into these things. You can use your ETH to earn interest.
So Ethereum's $415. Just give me like 5 minutes to run through this. I want to buy like, I don't know, I'll buy 2 Ethereum, ETH, as we call it.
Yeah, ETH.
And then what do I want to start doing? Is it a mechanism for me to just like grow my wealth?
Yeah.
Ethereum, like you said, I'm kind of buying into the mission, or do I start farming? Like
both. As someone, it's basically an alternative investment as part of your portfolio for you as someone in like America. You don't need it to live your life. Like we have the best financial infrastructure in the entire world. But this is a great financial instrument to have access to. So you get your ETH and you're going to use this to earn interest. So that's what I would do. I would lend, you go on Compound Finance, you click a couple buttons and you start lending your ETH, and then you're earning
myself when I get my loan on Compound Finance.
You can literally do that.
So what do you mean you can literally do that?
You can take out a loan on Compound, go over to Uniswap, toss all the money into Uniswap, and now you're earning fees as if you just gave them $100,000, but you only started with a certain amount. And that's when this gets crazy, because you can start combining all the protocols. So you go on Compound, you do one thing, you go to Uniswap, you do another thing.
You understand that, Dylan?
Yeah.
Not really. I'm still caught up on how, because a bank has a loan, and I assume if you don't repay your loan, they're going to send people after you or something. Say someone gives Henry some Ethereum to go work on a project or something. I don't know if that's exactly how it works, but who's to say that he's going to pay me back other than the fact that it's in the ledger?
Yeah. So the thing with loans is right now you have to be fully collateralized. So it's still kind of like the more money, you're not going to print yourself more value than you enter the system with. So there's an upper ceiling on, your $900 or whatever. So I said 50,000, but you need 50,000 to do that. That's how it works with a loan. Okay. But you can, put your money in a thing and start earning fees on that. And you're going to be earning fees, and you're also going to be earning stock in these companies. You're going to be earning their tokens. So as the company starts doing better and more people around the world are taking loans, the price of that token will probably go up, and you'll be earning capital gains based on that as well. So you're earning fees and you're earning stock appreciation, and it's risky because, who knows which one is going to be good, but it's a way to get exposure to a lot of upside as a normal human. Like it's hard to invest in like a private new financial tech startup as like a random person, right? But in this you can. That's the
because you just said capital gains. Then is it now a thing where you're itemizing on your taxes like gains from this income stream?
But it's only 15% because it's a capital gain versus income tax.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's a huge thing with all this. It's a legal gray area. It's a frenzy. No one knows. The government doesn't know what's going on. The lawyers don't know what's going on. The companies don't know what's going on.
John Hancock still doesn't know what's going on.
They have no clue what's going on. They have the worst idea what's going on, in my opinion. Sorry, Emmett. But yeah, you're going to, all right. But yes, you pay taxes on these things, but at this point in the game, there are very easy ways to avoid doing that. Not that I would recommend anyone do that, or do I think that's a good thing, but it's a gray area. No one knows. Yeah. If you're on Coinbase, they might start sending you like a thing to report on your tax returns. If you're on Uniswap, the government has no idea what that is. So
is that a problem for you, or will it be down the line? Probably.
I think in general for all these companies, you have to be very careful about what types of opportunities you're giving people access to and how you communicate those risks. If you're not communicating risk, that's all law in like financial stuff is basically just, did you tell the normal people what they were getting into? If you did, then you're fine. If you didn't, we're going to fine you. That's all what the SEC is. Like, did you tell people what they're actually doing? So yeah, we're going to have to figure out ways to communicate things, or else the government will probably start yelling at us. Who knows though? That's the thing with this. Nobody knows. There's no answer to that question.
Should we spend the I don't know how long you want to go, Dylan, but I think we're due to kind of talk about the entrepreneurship side here, in the fact that like Ian, you went to John Hancock for a bit, and then you started your own thing. You're still starting your own thing. Or you have your own thing.
Ian, you joined Uniswap after, like, you weren't one of the founders there, but now you're thinking about where you're starting your own. Is that what's going on?
Yeah. I'm happy to give you the rundown.
Do we want to, one, Ian, I usually like to go in depth too. So if you think maybe we have another episode just to talk about your plans and kind of why you got into that world, which I think we should, honestly. And
That's
then we can
stuff.
just
up to you guys. I have nothing to do to this, so it's like, if you want to break it up or just get into it, I'll do either.
I've got 20 minutes. Dylan, make the call.
What I say we do it another time. Well, I can't sit in a place for 2 hours straight, but there's like, I want to sit here for 10 hours because it's so crazy. I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
What are we missing with all this?
I'll tell you what I'm doing now, but yeah, I agree. That stuff I actually think it's probably more interesting, especially kind of like in this world, especially with software, kind of what you can get into on your own. So I, in general, for what I'm doing there, but yeah, happy to dive into that another time then. In general, what I'm doing is I'm still working at Uniswap. I was the third hire, basically. So like on the founding team, still planning to be there for a while. But I have a lot of free time. Developers generally have a lot of free time. So like, that's part of the reason why we can get into this later, but part of the reason why I chose this as a day job is, I have a ton of free time. I can work from anywhere. And I have a lot of like, just over the 2 years of working, gained like very specific expertise in like a small subset of things that people need. So me and a friend of mine are like, what, people are asking us all the time to build these things. And we're like, we're building these things for fun on the side. Why don't we just kind of formalize this and turn it into some contracted work? So that is the thing I'm working on as well.
It's kind of like when the World Wide Web was coming out and people were paying contractors to set up websites and stuff like that.
Exactly. And no one knew how to do it. No one knows how to do this stuff. So it's like, it's an opportunity to get into something and learn more than the whole world knows within like the matter of a month. It's like, it's crazy how fast you can become an expert.
And you've been in it for years at this point. So it's,
yeah.
It's ingrained.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, even you guys already know more than anyone at John Hancock does. So like, yeah, I mean, that's generally my like approach with that. I think the whole thing with all of this is it's brand new tech. It's changing super fast. So that's why it's fun to be part of. Like, there's no rules. There's a lot of like nonsense going on. But like the spaghetti coin and everything, but it's fun.
It's worldwide. It's decentralized. There's no like Silicon Valley for cryptos or like, where are the best engineers? Where are the best developers around the world? It sounds like.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing about this niche. The best companies are not based in America. A lot of them are in Germany, Berlin. A lot of devs are in Argentina. Some of the best I know. A lot are in Japan. A lot are in Australia. And we do these conferences all the time. We have big ones around the world. And like, we literally travel as like a cult. Like, we just went to Osaka. We're going to Colombia in a couple months. Like, the whole ecosystem.
Who is we?
The whole Ethereum ecosystem.
Everyone from the 4chan, Reddits, Twitter.
Literally, yeah. Literally, you meet these people who you only know them as their Twitter emojis. And you're like, you're that guy? And it's like, yeah, that was me. And like, all of us just take over these cities around the world. And it's so global. You
can tell too. Colombia's like, motherfucking nerds are coming.
Yeah. Oh yeah, big time. Like, we take over, and these people have so much money. So in New York, we'll rent out like One Oak and be like some of us will be partying, and it'll just be most of them are just these nerds who like don't know what's going on, and like, and they also, everyone in the space loves ketamine for some reason. Not me, but like, it just gets weird. The whole point is it's very global. And that's what makes it fun. It's people from around the world, like the weirdest people you'll meet, but like, it's not just, San Francisco tech bros who went to Stanford. It's nothing wrong with that, but it's global and it's fun.
That's what Silicon Valley was largely.
Exactly.
I like what you said about being developers have a lot of free time. Dylan, my girlfriend's brother, he'll probably listen to this, is doing some work for Dylan and the podcast, and he's a developer in that sense. And every time he pitches something, or like the things he's talks about doing with Dylan, he's like wrote a script to do it so that he doesn't have to. And I'm like, it's just genius. The way he thinks about the world and the way he thinks about solving problems is so foreign to me, because the way I solve problems is like brute force man hours. And developers are like, that's just not the way.
It transforms your brain. It's a different way of thinking, where it's like 90% of your time is spent on understanding the problem, and 10% is implementing a solution in a way that will work forever in any
unless
case.
You're Yam coin.
Unless you're Yam and you suck at coding, then it's a problem. It is a different way of thinking. And the way you start to solve problems actually changes. So
how much of that is stuff you learned in the CS department at Brown, and how much is just like playing around, breaking things, having fun in the job?
Yeah, I'd say it's actually a combination of both. I think with a lot of things, what you learn in college is mostly just to make you a smarter human, right? Like they ask you to do hard things, you get them done, and as a side effect, you probably got smarter. Whether that thing you learned is useful, that's debatable. In
emphasis on probably.
Yeah, some people don't. They just cheat, and then it's like you probably got dumber because you reinforce bad patterns. But in CS and stuff, a lot of the classes are very theoretical, and that actually does make you start to think about things in a weird way, because you're not literally coding. You're more like literally describing problems, and that's part of it. And a lot of it is building stuff. When you build stuff all the time, and your day job is to build things, and people are relying on you to, makes things work, you figure it out, and you figure out your own little patterns for how you effectively build things and what works for you. And every developer does it differently. So I'd say it's a mix of both.
So all right. One, I think everyone should probably know a little bit more about this whole mental framework for understanding the world. But what should the one average person know more of that they don't? Like, should they just appreciate blockchain? Should they actually learn any of this stuff? Like what is missing?
Yeah. I'd say if you know, if you're listening to this or, you know, you've heard about it before and it really interests you, blockchain specifically, dive into it. You know, read a lot about it, read articles, get on Reddit, get on Medium, and just read a lot. And if you're a code type person, start looking at the code. If this stuff is interesting to you, but like you don't want to do this as like a career, you don't need to learn about it. But what I would say is everyone, for their own good, just learn how websites and databases work and algorithms. That's the big thing. Learn how algorithms work, because you'll start to realize what is actually going on when you're on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or YouTube and you see these ads in a certain way and you get recommended certain things. It's almost like if you don't understand the algorithm, it's a weapon being used against you. Now I'm starting to sound like a hippie, but like I will urge, like, learn the basic way that like social media works and Google, like, how does the algorithm change and stuff like that. Like, I think that will actually change your opinion on a lot of tech that you use a lot.
All right, I'm sorry if this is trying to wrap up, but then we go farther. The FAT protocol, the problem is, my understanding is, like, no one focuses on the actual protocol. It's all the applications on top of it.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's flip-flopped. Like, the protocol is where all the value is. And then the applications, there's not much value there. Like, there's no value in the like a Facebook version on the blockchain. Yeah. I'm not explaining that well, but is that kind of true?
Yeah, I would say that's true. With these things, it needs to work, and everyone around the world needs to actually believe that the code is good, or else the whole thing becomes useless. So a lot of the time and focus is spent on the protocol. Does the protocol make sense? Is it engineered in a really good way? If the app store breaks, Apple just fixes it and it's fine, right? But if the blockchain breaks, people lose millions of dollars and they can never get it back. So in this world, you're going to focus a lot more on the protocol. Even in the regular world, we're starting to see platforms get a lot of focus on them, like TikTok, right? It's just a platform for people to create. And if we get the platform right, we'll let the people do the rest themselves.
Are there like savants in the crypto world then that keep creating really awesome protocols?
Is it just 100 people that are really crushing it, controlling the crypto world?
Yes, literally. Like, you can go follow these dudes on Twitter. They're just developers that are so far and away better than everyone else that they get called in on everything important to be a part of it.
Well, that's what Naval said, is like, or someone said in the past, is you get one good developer and that's better than 1,000 crappy ones.
Oh yeah.
So you just have the best in the world, I assume, focusing their attention on this.
Exactly. There's this one guy named Sam Sun, and he is so good at finding bugs that any like legit project that comes out, he'll be called in to look at the code. At like any venture, a lot of these things are backed by, like, you know, big time investors like, you know, Drake.
So what? They're like, Samsung, we're going to pay you $1 million to look at our code.
That's literally a truthful statement.
Dude,
why is he so much better at debugging than the next person or than you?
That's the thing. This technology is so new that there's so many unknown properties of it that you can't learn by Googling. You can only learn if you built things at this point. Like,
okay.
If you look up, like, Java is just a traditional coding language, you can already learn everything there is to know about Java right now, and you're not going to know things that no one else knows. But you get into this, Dylan, you mentioned the language earlier, it's called Solidity. That's how you write this code. There are things that nobody knows because so few people have experimented with it. So if you are one of those people who knows why things break, then your time is worth a lot of money.
Could you do that though, Ian? Rather than, well, I guess you're kind of doing that, but would that be a good place to focus your energy and time?
I think for me, a big thing here is understanding what you're good at. A lot of the work I do is actually on the application side. So how do we build websites and apps that plug into this stuff? So I make all, if you go to Uniswap and use any of the apps, I'm working on all the things that you're using. I'm not writing the smart contracts because, to be honest, to do that, you have to be very good at math and have an understanding of very low level programming. And that's not my expertise. You know, I'm decent at math, but like, that's not my thing. And I'll let someone else do that for me. But if you're a math person or you're like a low level programming person, this is right up your alley.
I feel like that's where what do they call them? Pure math students at Brown. Like, is this where they would thrive? The one select area where they're needed?
Yeah, we would literally hire someone who's just good at math.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Or we hire like
and then do what with them?
So they'll actually write the code a lot of the times because it's literally like, if you understand the math, the code comes easy to them.
The math is the cryptography behind it, or what?
It's more like the formulas. So
whoa, sorry. I'm on Unisocks on Uniswap.
Unisocks is crazy.
Okay, just the fact that when I hover over this rectangle and it follows my cursor, as a bevel, it's like in 3D. Sorry,
it's simple. It's simple to blow Henry's mind.
That's JavaScript, man. It's awesome.
Okay, sorry.
And the Unisocks are a totally different thing. Digital goods.
Oh, true. Devin Finzer, is that what his world is?
Devin, runs digital goods. They run their company is called OpenSea, and they're kind of like they're a marketplace for digital goods. So yes, there's cryptocurrencies, but there's also tokens that represent like art, or for these Unisocks, you go and buy a token, you buy sock token, and then you click a couple buttons and we'll send you an actual pair of socks. There's been some crazy stuff going on. Like there's a Grammy award-winning recording artist. His name is Rack. He's deep into the DeFi world, and he just did a digital token to represent his new album. And like Deadmau5 is getting into this. Lau, however you say that dude's name, he's getting into it. So there's a lot of art getting involved here, which is a totally different rabbit hole. But,
sorry to open that one up.
No, it's fine. Yeah.
So the pure math, they come back and the protocol is what they're working on mostly.
Yeah. So for example, like one of our developers, Noah, like super smart dude, he wrote mainly our V2 of our Uniswap contracts, and he, I think, was doing a lot of economic and statistical work before he came to Uniswap. He was like more on, I guess stats is different than math, whatever. But in general, it's more like economics, math focused research, and you can literally just come in and start writing code that kind of does the same thing. So yeah, if you're like a math and a lot of finance people, like we would hire someone who has a deep understanding of financial markets, because we're going to take the traditional financial architecture and recreate it in code. So if you're someone who knows a lot about like market making or futures or derivatives or trading, we're going to hire you, and we're just going to soak up your knowledge like a sponge and then code it.
This is what IES should be doing. Our buddy, he's just probably one of the smartest math people that we know, and he's deep in the finance world. So I feel like they should be in this more so. But
yeah.
All right. I guess we've covered so much. What have we still not covered that might be important, Ian, or have we hit all the main bases?
I think you did a good job here. This world is so crazy, and it's very overwhelming, and like it's a lot to like just dive into. There's so many weird things going on here, but I think in general, it's just good to, in your free time, just read some articles around blockchain and crypto.
What's good, because you mentioned understanding databases and maybe servers, whatever, protocol, stuff like that. What's an easy kind of simpleton, or like, what do they call it when those books that you don't know anything?
For dummies?
For dummies, yeah. What's like the for dummies version?
Literally just go on all the content in this space. The best content is just written on people's personal blogs. Just Google like, how does Twitter algorithm work, and go on Medium and just read through a bunch of those. Or like, how does go on Medium and type in like, how does a website actually work? Or like, how does the Facebook social graph work? Just Google those questions and just find the small little blogs and read about like like social signaling, and type in like social signaling algorithm. Like, I don't know. I think normal people would be very interested in that stuff. And then you're going to start looking at your phone. You're going to be like, oh my God, this is a totally different thing than I thought it was. So get on Google, look for the small blogs, I keep saying Medium. Medium's great. There's some Reddit posts. So just go to like the fringes. Don't go to Forbes or whatever. Go go on the small blogs, Google the questions you have around like, how does this work? What's an algorithm? And you'll just find good content.
Sweet. Velky, did you have any final questions or anything?
No, that's very cool. I have a lot of things to do here, but now I think I'm gonna spend the afternoon on Medium. That's something I've never done, but
it's fun.
Just searching people's point of view on Medium seems like a cool take.
Yeah.
All right, Ian, we'll figure out another time to get into your whole career trajectory and where you're going. But thanks again. Uniswap, people should check that out. Anything else you want people to check out that we haven't mentioned?
No, I think that's it. Yeah, thanks for letting me chat with you guys about this. It's my rabbit hole in my cult, so I'm happy to talk about it.
I love it. I'll be in Colombia with you. I was thinking about going this winter.
Let's go. So, come through. It's a fun place.
Get the whole fucking team.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Rap battles and shit. We haven't even gotten into that. But.
Good times. Yeah, we'll talk about that. But yeah, that's good. Google Uniswap. I don't know. I'm on Twitter. Probably don't care what I have to say, so don't worry about it. But,
awesome.
All right.
Thanks, Ian.
Thanks, Ian.
All right.
Talk to
have
you.
a good one, guys.
All right.